Okay, go ahead.
Hi, once again, this is Tom Pope from Community and Social Change Radio with Glenn Greenwich. And Glenn, your title is?
I'm the executive director for Sutphin Boulevard Business Improvement District.
And today we're speaking about an important topic affecting a lot of homeowners in Southeast Queens. As we speak, it seems that the tax liens against community homeowners is going into effect as of last Friday. Now, de Blasio had put a hold on that from the springtime, but it seems like that hold is now has disappeared. What does this mean for the homeowner, Glenn?
Well, it's several things because a tax lien can be for your property tax. It can be for a water bill that's over, I believe it's over $2,000. And basically, what is occurring is that if you haven't paid your property tax or your water bill, that your property then has a lien on it. So somebody from outside of the city, could be outside of the state, could actually come in and at some point put a lien on your house. And then of course, if that lien accumulates to a certain degree, could actually have the rights to take over your home. So the tax lien is not just um, similar to a mechanical lien, but the tax lien actually is growing at a higher interest rate um, because those are investors coming in to pay the tax and therefore are looking to get a percentage of um, return on investment that would be profitable for them to actually increase what the lien is, the longer the homeowner doesn't pay it. So it's a little it can be a dangerous thing to negotiate.
So we have a hypothetical scenario with a family. Let's say Tyrone and Aisha have had a house for years, and right now they're facing problems because of COVID, going back to work, no longer getting unemployment because the federal government decides, well, it's not necessary. Um, and we have another community of, you call them investors. They're getting very anxious that the stock market is facing a lot of volatility. And they suddenly look at these tax liens and they think, oh, here's a way to invest money. And
Absolutely.
and so these investors are flocking to the auctions where they can then take that home away from Tyrone and Aisha. Am I painting a picture correctly?
No, you are painting the picture correctly. The tax liens, the complicating financial aspect of it is like interest, being compounded. And so that tax lien is actually, the longer you hold on to it, the more it grows, which means the more the homeowner has to pay to get back um, the lien and or the house. Now, obviously, if the tax lien begins to exceed the value of the house, then basically the person could eventually lose the house to the tax lien people not being able to pay.
Um, this was delayed um, by de Blasio in the spring. Um, Now, do you have an idea as to why the delay hasn't continued? Was there pressure put on him by the real estate community?
I don't know that to be firsthand, but I suspect that the real estate folks, we're going through a pretty tough time when you look at renters are there's no eviction for the renters at this point in time up until I want to say October is the time frame. You've got commercial leasing that are going back and forth. There's a covenant called Quiet Happiness, which says that the leasee, the leaseholder, is not able to get into their property, not because of anything that they've done, but because the government has basically shut them down. So they don't have access to their particular property. And so some landlords have chosen to forego and bypass those months that the business operator wasn't able to come in. So you've got quite a few property, real estate, tax kinds of things that are, kind of multitasking. We've got the property taxes that were still due the city, and of course the tax liens are part of that conversation as well. So again, the tax lien could be either the water bill or the actually property tax. So we've got a lot of things that are playing a part in this conversation. We've got it was 7 billion. I'm not sure what it is now that we lost in revenues as a city, so when you look at the pressure to generate and create revenue, because when the person who's buying that tax lien actually pays into the Department of Finance, that's money that's coming into the city. So we've got, as you mentioned earlier, we have the pressures of the federal government not necessarily supporting, and there was even some conversation of cutting federal funding and so forth, although I don't think that that'll actually occur or is legal. but there, this whole conversation is scary for people who currently own, who may be right on the verge, who no longer are working. So, we've got to remember foreclosures. Southeast Queens has had the highest foreclosure statistic in the state for the last 4 or 5 years. So now you add the tax lien conversation into it inside of the pandemic, you've now multiplied that by 3, maybe even 4 times the impact that it normally was already devastating. And, and one of the things to remember is that when in most foreclosures, all somebody has to do is get divorced, lose a job, or get sick, and you're right in foreclosure, and then you've got this tax lien that comes behind it, and your house is gone. And
so we have 2 communities. We have the investor who is worried about losing his investments. We have the homeowner that is being put into this dire strait, losing the home, dealing with COVID, no income coming in. I think the average person is trying to understand who is being affected the most. Now, if the investor is losing some money on Wall Street and doesn't have the chance of recouping that with a tax lien, what is the worst case scenario? Well, that person, that family probably will not be losing their home. That person will probably still have a job, will have some income. So when we look at these two communities, and if we want to think about helping each other, shouldn't society be favoring the homeowner? Why should that extra burden be placed on the homeowner?
Oh, I agree with you absolutely, and I think that that has been part of the first extension. But I think the pressure again, because we've lost so much money as a city in terms of taxes in general, that this would actually, catapult or snowball the the lesser amount of taxes that we need, that we're already struggling to figure out who's going to get cut and what. Because at this point in time, without federal relief, we're talking about essentials being cut, EMS, and the ambulances, the police force, the you know fire, all of the emergency sanitation's already been cut. So we're talking about basic services that are now not going to have the money to operate on a normal basis.
So let's look at another part of this. We have the Trump administration pointing to a thriving economy based on corporations that are obtaining buybacks to give bonuses to CEOs. Well, what if the city could recoup by taxing those CEO bonuses?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's been actually one of the windfalls for New York City in particular, is when bonus time comes out, that's a huge upsurge in the economy. We're probably not going to have that this year, maybe not next year as well. And so we're faced with a restructuring of finances, city finances, in a way that we've never seen before. And this is going to be interesting. Yes, the homeowners should be protected. Um, I'm not sure that they can fence them off from the predators that are going to be coming in, because they're predatory buying and lending, and let's face it, redlining is still also happening. So you've got all of those aspects.
A recent article in the Daily News has the title, Cancel the 2020 Tax Lien Sale. Don't further destabilize economically struggling New Yorkers. This was written by Adrian Adams, Karen Hancock, and Christy Pearl. Adams is the council member for the 28th District in Queens.
Correct.
Haycox is a CEO for Habitat for Humanity in New York, and Peel is the executive director of the Center for New York City Neighborhoods. Now, what would the impact be if we canceled that tax?
Well, again, it would be a collection issue, and again, funding the city's budget. I can't tell you exactly to what extent that would be impacted, but I know that it would be impacted negatively from a budgeting standpoint. But again, we're talking about trade-offs. We're talking about keeping people and families in their own homes. We already have a disproportionate homeless population that we're not winning. We're not winning that particular battle. So to now
Add to that.
to impose the tax lien on top of that, you're now going to be adding to that burden. And the truth is, we don't have enough affordable housing to take care of the homeless now, and we're now putting in policies or that are going to make it worse.
According to this article, if the tax lien is canceled, it's not true that the city simply doesn't collect the tax revenue. City agencies will continue to collect delinquent taxes as they did before this program was instituted. Keeping the delinquent tax collection in-house also allows the city to better align its tax collection goals with its affordable housing preservation goals. That was written by the three people who are advocating for this position. Does this make sense?
Well, yes, it does. However, anytime you get tax lien investors involved, you're now talking about they've got to have a return on their money, otherwise they're not going to put the money into the tax lien. So you're talking about 20%, 15%, 20% or more return on investment over a short period of time. So anything along those lines are going to cause problems for the homeowners.
What's the big solution?
I think the big solution is to put it off a little bit longer. I think that's the only thing that makes sense, because I cannot see having forcing people out of their homes at this point in time. We're at a point in the economy where the economy is trying to kind of catch up and trying to make up time, but it's going to be very, very difficult to do that if you've got a whole nother set of folks that are now looking for homeless services and services from the city.
Well, if you enjoy what you're listening to, or rather, if you find it interesting, contact us via our Facebook page at Community and Social Change Facebook, or get in touch with us via YouTube. What would you say in closing, Glenn?
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's make sure that our mayor is listening and looking for the benefit of all of his constituents, especially the ones in Southeast Queens who I think are the most vulnerable.
Well, it would be nice. That would keep him in line with what he calls himself as a progressive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.